Welcome to another episode of Healing Her Halo. I'm your host, Patience Murray, and today I'm joined by Fatima Mann. Guided by Buddhist philosophies, she empowers others through self love and acceptance. Her journey began with AmeriCorps Vista, sparking a lifelong dedication to social equity. As co founder of the Austin Justice Coalition, she fought police brutality and helped shape Austin Police Department's body worn camera policies. She's also co founded Counterbalance, ATX, merging self care and social justice, earning awards like the National Association of Social Workers Public Citizen of the Year and the Austin Community College Equity Activist Award. A graduate of Southern University Law Center, Fatima founded the Community Advocacy and Healing Project, creating culturally mindful, human centered spaces and leading Hurricane Harvey relief efforts. Her initiatives have rescued hundreds and provided vital resources across multiple cities. She has organized over 100 transformative experiences, including retreats, festivals, and summits. Through love and healing work, Fatima combines legal expertise, yoga, trauma conscious practices, and mindfulness to inspire others. A sought after speaker and trainer, she continues to share her wisdom, fostering transformative journeys of love, healing, and equity. Fatima, thank you for joining the show.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for
Woo!
having me. You're so great. You're absolutely wonderful. Thank you for
I
creating this
really
space.
appreciate
Of
you.
course.
Wow, I really appreciate you saying that because today, of all days, I'm so grateful to just have your energy, your spirit, your bright smile. For those of you who can't see her on our YouTube, go watch the YouTube. She has the most amazing smile. So, where do you get this light from? How do you walk and cultivate that light within you?
Well, first, I always like to start things with gratitude. And so I just am thankful that all the things had come together for us to be here in this moment. And I'm thankful for all of our ancestors and the four elements and the four directions and all the planets and stars and spirit guides and ancestors that move and flow to make us who we are. I just like to honor those, all of it, because without all of it, we wouldn't be the amazing beings we are in this moment. So I just wanted to say that first. And second, I hope that everyone that is listening, watching, whatever medium is drinking water and taking care of themselves. I think that's where my light started. When I started taking care of myself, I get the light
Yeah.
from within. This is a cultivated light. This is something that I practiced and worked towards. This is something that didn't just happen. It happened because I wanted it to. I want it to. I I I've become attracted to my own light so much that I'm seeking ways to continue to keep it shining, knowing that darkness is all around me. I can still shine my light and I can still have my light. And so what keeps my light and where I remembered it, when I remembered it, I feel like is when most people remember that there's light, because we usually remember it in the depths of our own darkness. We've gotten to a place in our life, things just seem so dark that the only other thing is up. The only other thing is light. It's the opposite of where we are. And that's what it was. I was what, 24 when like all of our brains came on, and then I started to think about what I was doing and how I was doing it, and if that was how I wanted to live my life, and was my actions and my thoughts and my speech, did it align with who I wanted the world to see me as? And it didn't. And so it took me about 2 years to figure out that I didn't have to live harmfully, but I didn't have those words, because I was still self-destructive in a lot of ways, like many of us are, and we don't know it, or we don't want to call it that, because whew, to admit that we are what we are takes a lot of grace and compassion that we are not conditioned to have yet. And so Buddhism actually was the introduction to my spiritual practices. With Buddhism came yoga and meditation. I learned about Ifa. That taught me about ancestral veneration and working with nature and indigenous practices. And then I got in tune with the fact that trauma is stored in our body, and trauma is an energy. And most of us, all of us, have some form of trauma that we're moving with, and we don't know how to call it that. And I And then I took my shoes off. And I stopped wearing shoes for 9 years.
Yeah.
So,
That's so cool. Wow, that's a brave move. Like every move that you've made with even venturing into Buddhism and just making the choice that, you know what, I'm going to keep fighting for this light that I feel and that I have, and I'm just going to choose to continue to go upward, right? So it's like that's such a brave choice because it's so easy to just fall victim to the circumstance and like how we're feeling and our emotions and just sink into that and just have this pity party like for ourselves and say woe is me and just wish that the world were different and making no changes towards it of making our lives different. So what was there like a moment that pushed you to actually do this? Was there a single moment where was there like a series of moments that made you actually make this move into Buddhism and learning more of those principles and grounding yourself?
oh, so it's like three moments, I think, when you said it, like, it was like, oh, what was happening? Uh, I was I was at the cusp of the really huge disconnect with my mother, with the woman who birthed me, which is my mother, but she's not the one who raised me. And we were at this moment where, at a crossroads, where I was realizing I didn't want to engage in the way that I was taught. I didn't want to, I didn't want to talk to people out of anger and meanness. I wanted to be able to experience joy and this a lighter side. And so there had to be another side. I was also a cutter, and so I was hurting myself. For at that time, I had hurt myself. I had stopped cutting at 24, but I was still self destructive with other things. And the third thing that happened was I started to, and as an AmeriCorps Vista, I was working in a child advocacy center. And every single child I saw had experienced some sort of trauma due to some sort of adult that hurt this child. And that's why that child was here. So and the average age that we had seen at the time was 3.5. So I needed something, right? I've always believed in prayer, the power of words and speaking things. I grew up in a praying house with praying women and praying people. And my mother used to pray when I was in the womb. So I believe that there's power in prayer. I don't care what we all call it, different things in different languages. But when we speak from a place of belief and faith and know that what we're speaking is happening and it's to the being that is greater than us, it's prayer. So I had prayed that I needed direction because this could be it. Those three things were happening within 3 months of each other. These weren't things that were happening in years apart. Like me and my mother were disconnecting. I was finding a new way of living because harming myself was no longer an option. And I was thrown into a place that was really triggering for most if you're not aware of trauma and how it impacts you watching someone else express their trauma, right? And Buddhism
Yeah.
was the thing. It made sense. It made sense to recognize that there is suffering, but I get to choose how. It made sense for me to say that there's to learn that there's ways of thinking and speaking and acting that align with nature and align with the betterment of all. I hadn't heard anything like that. I didn't grow up with people talking about loving kindness and how to be kind and what kind is and how to be compassionate and how to be still and meditate. I didn't grow up with any of that. So to have a practice that said these are some actual things you can do to help be present in your body in this moment, I needed as much direction as possible because I had been hurting myself and calling it love for 20 something years. And to unlearn meant that I had to do a lot of self reflection with grace. And Buddhism taught me that. Buddhism gave me the foundation to do the deeper work of really being able to see that I caused my own suffering and it's no one else but me. It's no one else but me. And once I chose to accept that reality, I was like, oh, if I'm causing myself suffering, then I can also choose how I relate to suffering when it happens, because death is suffering, sickness is suffering, things that we don't like happening causes us suffering, but I don't have to suffer because suffering things are happening. Mine was blown, and it made sense to me. And for 9 years, I've been choosing how I relate to what happens to me because I can do that.
Thank you, number one, for sharing more of your story. And I honor the fact that you shared your story here on this platform and with me. And just so grateful that this beautiful, just like blossoming period of your life, like we get to experience and see and, feel like that work that you've put in. Um, but you said some really powerful things here that I don't want to gloss over, and just some powerful word shifts too. Like how just different word placement of how we're looking at suffering, or just understanding that suffering is a choice, although we experience, suffering experiences. And like, I can't say it as nice as you said it, but just how you said it, it just like, it was a clicking moment for sure. What was one of those practices that you feel like was, I guess, like the most transformative for where you were at that stage in your journey of transitioning out of um, that pain, right? And choosing joy and choosing happiness despite or even with the challenges of life.
So I can't say that there's one because I feel like things happen in threes or more, right? And I move in threes. So it was the constant self-reflection. So I asking myself questions with affirmations, right? So and prayer. Today will be better than yesterday. I said that for a year. Today will be better than yesterday. And then it was like, how? How will today be better than yesterday? What will you do differently today to make today better than yesterday? What is better? What does better for you look like, and how you think and how you speak? Because now I'm thinking about that. So the self reflection, pausing to self reflect, asking myself questions, and then doing the answers of those questions, which is to me the answers that I got from my prayers. What if I'm asking for today to be better than yesterday, and I'm praying that I will speak in a way that aligns with me not harming myself or others, then I'm asking myself, what does that look like?
That's good. That's really good. Because at some point, there's an element, even with our healing, where discipline has to come into play. And
This
we actually have to take those action steps. Yeah.
discipline and commitment are the hardest parts about healing. Healing is
Mm.
hard. It is hard. It is an arduous journey. It is I like to hike, and I refer to healing as a hike. You see some of the most beautiful things, and also you have to climb over some stuff. You may stump your toe. You get a little tired. Like, you know what? I saw enough. I didn't need to go no more. Like, you could just go on without me.
Right. I'll catch up.
Like, or just take a picture because I don't want to do this. A lot of us are at that place of our healing journey where we've climbed the mountain and we don't want to go no more because where we like this was like I'm only right here, and I mean right here to the sense of we don't always get to see the rewards. And I like to remind people, it brings me joy to remind them of the fact that they didn't cuss that person out like they would have before because of where they are on their healing journey.
That's growth. That's progress. It's good to acknowledge progress, even the small steps.
Celebrate it, acknowledge the fact that you in your head slapped the mess out of that person. And before in your life, you used to slap the mess out of people. And then soon
Right.
you won't even think about slapping people. I know. I used to be someone that used to slap people.
Oh man, well that's so true and that's so real, and I'm sure a lot of people, including myself, can relate.
I mean,
I and maybe it's not even slapping people, right? Sometimes maybe your work might be, speaking up for yourself in a way. Maybe your work is, normally you would have let that person berate you, or normally you would have let that person say whatever. And now your healing may look like, what, advocating for some respect. So it can be so many different ways, but that change, you feel it when it happens and you notice. You do notice. It's whether we celebrate it or not. That's another part, but it's that I'm pretty sure that's really important.
Oh, absolutely. So celebration. So it's funny because I genuinely believe that everything that we do should be celebrated, because celebration to me is us aligning with the gods, with the ancestors, with the spirit guides. Like it's our like, thank you for allowing me to have the thing that is worthy of celebrating, because we didn't get here by ourselves. So it's, to me, dishonorable to not take a moment to celebrate and do a little, and I do it, like, people see me, I do a little, like, a little
It's all in the
shimmy, just a
shoulders,
little
yeah.
shimmy, and all my friends know. They're like, what happened? I'd be like, ooh, girl, I got a contract. Or, like, you know what I'm saying, like,
Amen.
you know what I mean, like, oh, just because life is still
Yeah,
lifing, but taking a moment to give energy to where energy is due. We can't just keep on, working and doing without the gratitude, without the celebration, without the pause, without the relaxation and the rest. Like, we want to just do and then say, oh, there's more to do, but are you not going to honor what has been done?
that's a powerful piece. Yeah, gratitude. Gratitude is definitely, I feel like, if not the most important foundation of healing, definitely, like, I'm sure self-compassion and all these, grace and but gratitude, just being grateful for all the wins, the small wins, even the big wins, just really taking a second to be grateful for each one. It draws more of that into our life, and that makes the journey much easier.
It really does. Like, healing is hard. It is probably one of the hardest things I had to do, because you're living something completely different than what you were before. And what you were before, you were doing longer than this new thing that you're now incorporating or unlearning, and then learning something different. All of these things are having to face yourself. Oh my goodness. Just, I'll go back. Like, ignorance is bliss. I get why that's a statement now. Because when you don't know, you really don't know, and there's nothing to know. Because, right?
Yeah.
But when you know, ugh, right?
So much more conviction.
So why not allow yourself? Because we can choose. We can choose any and everything. Our life is a bunch of moments where we've made choices. So if I get to choose how I'm going to respond, then I can say, this sucks. This is one of the worst things that happened to me. And also, I am so thankful that I got to eat a meal that felt good, that I got some hugs today, that I was able to walk and be in nature and have a moment. But all of these things that are happening, ooh, they suck. And I want this to stop. That'd be great. And I'm thankful for all of this, what's going to happen when this is over and the abundance that's coming in. I can be thankful for all of it. I don't have to choose on what I'm thankful for, all of it. I'm thankful for this moment and what this moment is preparing me for, even though this moment sucks. I don't have, one of the things that I was taught in one of my friendships, she quotes her mom, and her mom is Miss Betty Ross. And it's this, I don't have to like it. I don't have to like it. There's parts of our healing journey I don't particularly like. I'm not even gonna front. I don't. And also, I'm thankful for it because I have the experience and the wisdom from the experience. And so now I can choose, if I don't like that, then I'm not going to do that again, or anything that's going to give me the results that I don't like, because I don't like it.
Exactly. And being certain about what it is that we do and don't want, and do and don't want more of. And I feel like that self-reflection piece, like you were saying in the beginning, is key to really unlocking that certainty. And that certainty definitely draws more of those things that we do, either the things that we keep saying that we don't want, or the things that we do want, but we're certain about something. For sure. I want to know I want to get more into the work that you do. So, how do you put all of this into your business, into your advocacy, the service that you provide for others? What does that look like in action?
I saw this video on the Instagram today about this man, and he was talking about being his authentic self on and off the stage. That's me. That's the business. That's what I do. Like I blend that I have a law degree and a background in policy and creating policy that is legal and still transformative and that isn't triggering or traumatic. So the goal for me is because I have a background in trauma conscious yoga and I'm a yoga practitioner and I've been doing work around how to move from a place where I'm not causing harm because I'm experiencing some form of emotion. I've learned how to be in a space where terrible things are happening, but I don't have to blow up my world or anybody else's world just because I'm hurt. Hurt people don't have to hurt people. I can recognize that I'm hurt and then put these parameters in place so that I'm not hurting myself because I'm not trying to, acknowledge that I'm hurt or others. So what I did was I created these philosophies that came to me about being culturally mindful, healing, and human centered. There are three ways of being, and what I do is I help businesses transform how they do business. So now we're not we're transforming the consciousness of the people within the systems because people make systems, not systems. So the results of the systems are the results of the hurt people working in the systems. And that came to me because I was tired of marching. I was tired of Black women dying. Breonna Taylor had died and the world was not on fire. But George Floyd was killed in the streets and everybody wanted to march. But this woman was killed in her home, in her bed, and we weren't going to burn the world down for her. I was over it. I was like, you can't get me. No, 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 no.
I understand.
When is it that Black women, we can die in our beds and that's not enough for the world to be set on fire? And I'm not saying that George Floyd should have been killed the way that he was killed. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is he was in the streets. So what came to me in meditation was to that it's human beings not seeing themselves so they can't see others. And so hurt people are people are hurting because they don't even know what they need or what they want. So they're going to these jobs and they're creating these systems with these policies that are negatively impacting themselves and others. But I can't go out and start, saying, "Hey, let me do this." Well, I tried. I did actually, and I do. And that's why I've been working for myself for 9 years. But I I wanted to blend the idea of we're not one or the other. We're not our heads or our hearts. We're both. And our emotions and how we engage in what's happening in our life impacts how we do business. And when people are well and when they are full, you can then the thing that they're producing is for the betterment of all. But if when people are hungry and tired and they're dehydrated and they're grieving and they're dealing with all these emotions and there's no space to process or be heard or seen, then they're going to write policies that are going to traumatize everyone that they impact in some way. So why not create a business where I can use my law degree to create trainings and to consult, and I do one-on-ones. I help people put on retreats and conferences. But I think about all the people that may be impacted by this experience and how do we make sure that they know that they belong here? Like if I have a healing experience, I'm gonna have light food. I'm not gonna have heavy foods. I'm not gonna have foods that's gonna make people tired. I'm because we're healing. So I want you to be nourished, and I also need you to have light. I think about all of these things because it makes me happy, and because people don't think about these things. People don't think about themselves. When entrepreneurs, people who are in leadership positions, as someone who was considered a leader, most leaders are burnt out or on the brink of burnt out. Most leaders aren't well, so they're not giving spaces or creating spaces where people can be well. And I help people do that. I help people create spaces where they can, in their in their business, in your organization. It's how you do business and your policies and your practices and your trainings and your hirings and your job descriptions. You're not speaking the fluff. It is actually in how you do business, because people make business. That's it. That's how you, like, it's the people. And if your people are not good, you're not going to make any money. So I'm here for the people. I really just want people to pause and check in with themselves and give themselves what they need for real, in a way that isn't harmful. Because we out here saying that we love ourselves, harming ourselves, what we consume, what we hear, what we see, what we eat, what we smell. Most of it, it's harmful to ourselves, but we out here loving ourselves. And I'm like, oh, okay. Are you drinking water and taking care of yourself?
That drinking water, that one will get you every time. Well, I just want to confirm and just agree ultimately on everything that you just said, especially in regards to wounded healers, creating the world that we live in, creating the corporations and the businesses. And I'm going to go here, but sometimes the service organizations as well. Um, because in my experience as a survivor as well, like of different experiences in my life, I reached out to organizations for help. And the way that I was handled in some of those situations, just the way the overall just experience was, it didn't feel very trauma conscious, right? So even through that, it made me more aware of how I'm showing up as a leader or as an activist, right? Because part of my journey was being a gun reform activist in the beginning of, I was survived a very like public mass shooting, and I was on fire, basically, of creating reform and making sure that, hey, I'm using my voice, using my story to come out here publicly and say this has got to change. And then after a while, I just started to realize that, number one, actively working in that space, it was harmful to me. Like, it was very triggering for me. And I wasn't showing up as my best self, even though people wanted me to be this leader and, head up this initiative for these things. I wasn't okay. And ultimately, it didn't seem like it made a lot of logical sense to me to not be okay and be leading. So I took a time and pause away from all of that kind of work, and I just started to focus on my own healing journey. So here I am, and creating the space also to learn, but also open this space up for other women who may have a similar experience of transitioning from trying to save the world and don't really understand that, the best way we can save the world is to save ourselves in some way.
So yes, thank you for choosing you, and thank you for choosing to pause and heal and take care of yourself. Like, I was a leader that was leading from a place of my own triggers and traumas, until I realized that I had triggers and traumas. And I was like, oh, okay, so these things exist. How do I acknowledge, learn, allow them not to guide the work that I do? And then I'm sitting here saying, if this is happening to me, I know it. I know. Like I'm one of the most mindful ones, like, out here in these streets. Like, I know that I am. I know that I am. Like, so if I'm the most mindful one and I'm out here causing harm because I don't know that we're not supposed to burn out, right? Like, I didn't know that you're supposed to create space for the people that help people. So we started Love and Healing Work because I want to help people who work with other people, because who holds space for us? Who holds space for the activists and the leaders and the people on the front line? Who holds space for those who are experiencing the things that most of us don't want to experience? Like, I was the Hood 911 for a long time. I didn't watch a lot of things on TV because it was coming to my phone. And so if I'm taking calls from mothers and fathers who've lost their children to gun violence, and to police gun violence at that, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to figure this out, because I can't mishandle them who've already been mishandled. So I'm not gonna act like I haven't, had bumps along the way, because I lived and learned, and it was really me. There wasn't a lot of elders in the community, and that's another conversation. And there's not a lot of elders in the community that I felt that I aligned to, because most of the elders, most of the Black women, they were conditioned to do, go, be on the front line, take care of everybody but themselves too. And here I am saying, I want to do both. I'm going to unapologetically take care of myself because burnout is not an option. And I'm also going to be on these front lines telling you, you full of it. And now I'm doing this other one way better than what I was before, because I done ate, I done slept real good, I done meditated, I did a
Uh
whole
huh.
yoga flow, I done walked yesterday, I journaled, I am so here. So now I'm giving you a piece of everything that is aligned with what I know you need to hear, because I've given myself everything. And we have been conditioned to live on this concept of credit, and there's no emotional credit. There's no mental credit. You can't pay for the emotions that you spread out later. You can't take it back. So if I can't take it back, if I can't pay on it later, then I might as well do what I need to do and pay for cash right now, right? So in the moment, it's the cash right now. I'm full when I'm called on, because I am full for me. It's not for y'all. You just get the benefit. When I'm not full, I don't talk to people. I don't engage. I'm not taking meetings. I don't want to. I don't think that I should get the least amount of me. So why should I give that to you?
That's so transformative. It really is. And it takes, oh gosh, again, like the discipline to also rearrange some things and to say no and to say not now, and the strength to do that in a way that just love, right? And coming back to that self love factor, a certain love for just being compassionate for this version of who you are right now. And it may not be a permanent version, but having compassion for the version that you are right now and saying, no, we're going to take care of her right now. And then we're going to come back to this better than ever, but let's take care of the self right now. How can people live unharmfully?
The first thing that came to mind is sit down, shut up, and listen to yourself.
Hmm. Let it be direct.
Like, that's what
Tangible.
that was like. I try to not always catch the first thought, but sometimes when the first thought is really good, I share it. And I felt like that was really good. Like,
Yes.
I had to. There's a level of self-awareness that comes when we are quiet, when we are still, and we ask the questions, and then we listen for the answers within ourselves, not around us. And most times we're not listening to ourselves. That's why we out here in these streets wondering why the world looked the way it looked. But the world is a reflection of us. And so when we sit down and we pause and we say, so what's chaotic and confusion within me? We can be real and say that that's why the world that we're living in is it looks like a form of chaos and confusion, because many of us are moving around in the world that way, because we won't sit down, be still and quiet. We won't do it. We just won't. And it's intriguing, because the world shut down and people still didn't do it, right? The world opens back up. People are, out here in these streets, and they're talking about wellness, and they're talking about self-care, and they're talking about healing. And I'm an Aquarius. I'm a double Aquarian, and I have a lot of air. And I'm an Aquarian sun, I'm Aquarian moon, and I'm a Gemini rising. So I'm really about the humanitarian. Like, I'm a humanitarian for real. Like, I believe in humanity, and the way that I know that humans will get it right is they sit down, be quiet, and really love on themselves graciously. But we won't do that. We won't do it individually, and we won't do it collectively. And that was the way before we got into the wave in which we are right now. And when people ask me about healing, I really ask them, like, so how do you take care of yourself for real? How are you listening to yourself? And when yourself says, hey, I know that we said yes 5 weeks ago, but today it's a no, then you need to honor that today it's a no. because today you found out one of your homies died, and you were at work, and you're trying to process that, and you're a partner, and you raising little humans, and you were going to try to go to this thing. That was just too many ands for me.
Wow. It's so simple but not easy, right? For us to implement this in our own journeys and walks, right? Even today, just dealing with the many multitudes and fortitudes of life, getting here today. There could have been several moments of just taking a minute to self reflect and say, self, you know what? Maybe we need to have a little bit more compassion for ourselves today. Why is it that that's so hard to do? And what do you do in your retreats and your experiences that help pull us out of that routine of just not prioritizing our self-care?
That's a lot of, so the why. We are like this because we've been conditioned to. We're easier to control when we're tired, when we're dehydrated, and we're disconnected from ourselves. We're easier to control. I can tell you that this is good for you because you're not listening to yourself to hear what's good for you. So if I'm over here telling you that it's good for you, you're going to believe me more than you believe yourself because you don't listen to yourself. So we've been conditioned to believe that taking care of people and doing for people fills our cup. You know how many elders over 50 women, people identify as women, that tell me that their cups are filled by serving others? And I said, that ain't your cup. That's their cup. Your cup is filled by you. When you unapologetically take space to do the thing that is filling, that brings you a do, you get this little reboot. That's you. That's not anyone else. That's not you doing for someone else. And to watch people process that. So in retreats, and experiences, I ground people into knowing that they can be grateful for themselves in this moment. So I learned not wearing shoes everywhere has taught me the importance of thanking my feet and my body, because I also don't have a car. So I walk all the time, most times. Yeah, I walk a lot. And so I,
This is so intriguing to me. And so you walk like with no shoes on everywhere,
yes,
or is it like certain places?
everywhere. I got Playa del Carmen on the bottom of my feet right now with some socks on. I gotta wash them, and when we finish.
Wow. I'm blown away. Like I'm actually blown away, but what has been do you feel like it's the connectivity? Do you feel a deeper connectivity just like with nature and everything around you? How do you stay committed to that journey? Because I can imagine it's challenges with that just by itself.
I have never felt the power of the earth in the way that I do when I don't wear shoes. Um, I don't get sick. I feel I feel more level than I've ever felt. I've gone through some of what, like, they would say the top indicators of like suicides or whatever. And I know that it's hard, but I know that being connected to the abundance of the earth has allowed me to see that what's going on is just what's going on, and it's going to end, because all things that begin end. I didn't have this flow of like, I don't hold, like, nothing is really stored in my body. Me and Mother Nature have this thing where energy flows through me, through her. Um, yeah, it's the most beautiful commitment I've made. I've learned consent and mindfulness and gratitude. Those are like the three big lessons from not wearing shoes. I am the kindest that I've ever been, the most compassionate I've ever been. I know that I'm not alone and connected to everybody. I know anything is possible because I'm in this body and I don't wear shoes and I live the life that I live. Like, yeah, I this is it was I said I didn't know that you could live without shoes. I saw white men live without shoes, and I was like, if a white man can do it, then I definitely can. And I have been ever since.
That's so dynamic, and I've never met a person who's lived without shoes. So thank you so much for just sharing that with us and sharing that with me. And is that something that you go into in your programs? Is that like a part that you touch on or discuss? Does that ever come up at all? Like, I'm just like really intrigued by this because it seems like such a challenge. Like, so to commit to this, it must have really had some deep change that's attached to it. And I'm sure that's something that people like myself want. So, like, how do you have is there like a course on how to walk without shoes?
I've been asked that, and I haven't had enough people that wanted to do it. I mean, people have asked me, but it's like, okay, so what do you like? I am,
This might be a
yeah,
sign.
I mean, yeah, it might be. And I've been asked to do something about grounding in retreats. I honestly, okay, so this is no shade to people, but people don't listen, right? And we've been conditioned not to listen as a people. And we have been conditioned to believe that we sometimes know more than the people that have actually been doing something. And my patience level for non-elders, old people, and babies and dogs, it's just like, it's like, So what usually happens is, I actually did a live about this the other day, which is really funny. That me not wearing shoes has transformed how I think about everything. Like everything. Like we're one big example. We're conditioned not to go back. We're not to go backwards. You should never go backwards. Always forward, right? We've all heard it. Don't look back. Don't go back. But what if forward doesn't work because the road is rocky and the terrain is rough and your feet and body is like, this is not the route that we want to take? Am I going to continuously harm myself to try to make my body do something that my body says no to because I'm not supposed to go backwards? You can go backwards. You don't have to go the same route though. So I turn around often because my feet are like, see, so no, we're not doing that. We're not going down there. And I'm not about to make my feet do anything. They bring me everywhere. So if my feet say no, it's a no. But we don't go back the same way we came because that's the lesson. I didn't like that way. So let's see if there's another way. And I don't even have to take the same road. I can go another road that's going to bring me in the same direction that I went and maybe even somewhere else. But going backwards doesn't mean that I'm starting over. It means that I'm going back to go forward because maybe the route in front of me isn't the best route. Man, that physical manifestation is in a philosophical lesson that I do often. Oh, I go back, like I reflect on what did work, what didn't work. Is this a road that I can take? And then if something's like no, then I'm like, all right, so let's move this way because I could be, we all have a plan and going forward, and we don't want to go back because we're supposed to keep going forward on our plan instead of just pausing and saying the plan is not working. Let's go back to see if there's another way.
I love that. I love that. And it's not failure either. Needing to pivot, needing to make a turn, needing to make a decision outside of what you initially thought was right and true for you at the time, because we're always evolving. I would think our truth is always evolving as well, which is true for us in each moment. So you've also confirmed a lot for me. So with that being said, if there's anything at all that you can say to a woman in a journey, and maybe she is moving forward and she realized, that I'm not on the path that I thought I was on, and this isn't conducive to my healing at all, and I really don't know what to do. I'm afraid. I'm afraid to go back. I'm afraid to make a turn, but all I know is this isn't working. What could you say to her to help put a spark back into her halo?
I'm proud of you for choosing to pause and to reflect to see if this moment is good for you or not. And just take a moment to honor yourself that you're honoring yourself. Bask in gratitude for just seeing that what you're doing is no longer serving you. And then from there, just pause and reflect with grace for yourself because you're choosing you. And instead of continuing to do what you did, you're choosing to do something different. And how amazing are you for choosing to do something different? Go you for choosing something different. And in this difference, may that choice be in alignment with what serves you and brings ease and pleasure and abundance to your life. And from that place of being full and fed and hydrated, then make the decision of what's next, honoring that you did it. You chose you, and you chose the pause to figure it out. Go you.
And how can we stay connected with you? Because we need to stay connected with you.
We're on Love and Healing Work on all of the things on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and on Eventbrite. So we have events on Eventbrite. I'm doing more virtual events unless you want to join me in Playa del Carmen, and we're doing a retreat in Jamaica and for the spring equinox. But the goal is to create more spaces where I get to care for you and create space for you to care for yourself uninterrupted, because we all need that. And I want to help provide the world with more spaces where people can just be and heal while they're being. And they be guided by me for a little while. And they take these practices and you bring it back into your own world.
Fatima, thank you so much for joining the show. We appreciate you and we absolutely adore you. And this, y'all, has been another episode of Healing Her Halo.
Thanks for having me.